So welcome. Thanks for joining Mary and I. We are going to hopefully show you we're going actually sort of back to basics and showing you a few little things. We want to show you a few lunch ideas for little people, big people, so that even we all have fresh food available for our lunches. So we're going to be showing you how to turn pizza base into scrolls, which can be a great lunchbox idea. And you can even refrigerate the dough overnight and bake it in the morning if you want to, or even freeze it. So I'll talk about a few of those options. We're going to be showing you how to steam some chicken, potato, egg, how to make a really great salad. Mary's going to talk about that. We're also going to show you a chopped salad that is just so really quick and easy. And I'm also going to show you how to make strawberry leathers, otherwise known as roll-ups. When I was a kid, roll-ups first came. And now you can actually make them yourself with, a really simple method in the Thermomix and popping them in your oven. So we might get started with Mary. I will unpin myself so that Mary is front of the screen, and we're just going to get started with some steaming. So I'll hand you over to Mary.
Hi everyone, welcome. I'm actually not doing a guided recipe at the moment. I've been a consultant for about 9 years, and there's a lot of things in my head that I just do automatically. And this is one of these things, I think if you learn this technique, I think it really, really is one of those things that you can be doing as you're washing dishes, prepping for school lunches or lunch tomorrow. So today I've got in my Thermomix bowl about 1 litre of water. And in my steaming basket, some people call it a rice basket, but it's the basket that you insert into your Thermomix. I've got in here a couple of little potatoes. I've got a couple of eggs, and I happen to have this big red potato, which I'm just going to cut into about 4, so they're all sort of similar sizes. So I'll just show you. The basket's not overly full, but if you were feeding a lot more people, you could easily add more eggs and more potatoes to that. So I'm going to insert this into the bowl, place the lid on, and then here I have a couple of chicken breasts. I might actually bring it out and show you, just so it's flat so you can see it. So there, I've just done them into little strips like tenderloins, put some salt and pepper on them. That easy, no fuss, no anything else. But the reason I've put it in a bit of Glad Bake paper that's wet, it helps the moisture come in. And also in our family, I used to have one child that loved fish and one that hated it. So quite often I would put the fish into a bag like this, separated, because we couldn't possibly have them touch. So I got into that habit of doing that. And I just thought I'd show you that, because then you can cater for all your family's preferences. So here I've got the chicken. It could go in the basket, or it could actually go on the tray, and you could be steaming some vegetables there as well if you want to. But tonight I'm just going to put it in the basket, pop the lid on. And I'm going to, if you look at my screen, I'm going to put it on for 20 minutes. Oh, actually, I'll do 19. To hard boil an egg is 19 minutes if you go into your egg boiler mode. So 19 minutes onto Verona being the hottest. And then I'm going to put it on speed 1.5. Now, when you're steaming, I just thought there's a few things like any cooking that will vary your result. So, and I wrote them down so I didn't forget. I had my booster yesterday and my head's just a little bit cloudy today. So obviously, if you want things to go quicker, you put them into smaller bits, or you can actually bump the speed up, because the higher that speed goes, the more that steam circulates. The other thing to take into consideration is if your protein, your chicken or your fish or whatever you're using is at room temperature, it will cook quicker than if you've taken it straight out of the fridge. Now, that seems so simple, I'm nearly embarrassed, but that's literally it. Now I can go and do whatever else I want to do. In this case, I'm going to take it over to Belinda, and I'll talk you through a few more things when we get back, when this is finished. Over to you, Belinda. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I lost my screen for just a second, and I'm just going to pin myself. I'm still just navigating. Righto. Sorry about that, girls. Sometimes just trying to navigate. The technology just takes me a minute. Righto. So hopefully you can see my screen. I am actually going to start off making some, well, I'm not going to start making pizza dough. I'm going to make that in a minute. But first of all, what I'm going to do, look, we can all make pizzas, which is great, but another great idea for kids' lunchboxes or even adults' lunchboxes is actually to make some scrolls. So I'm actually going to use the pizza dough recipe today. We're going to roll it out flat. I'm going to top it with some toppings. We're going to roll it up and we're going to cut it. And then I'll pop it into the oven to bake on a tray. But what I want to do is just show you. Now, because we just wanted to talk about some basics, I might just attach to the email that I send out to everybody at the end of tonight. There's a great little shortcut card that has only recently come out by Thermomix, and I'm just adding just some cheese. I've got a mix there of cheddar and I've got some mozzarella. If it's helpful, you might want to grab a pen and paper just to write down some notes if there's something that you think you might remember. But there's a great little shortcut card. I usually pass it out to my customers, and I know Mary does sometimes too, but if you haven't got one, I'm going to attach it to the email so you can read it. And it tells you all the shortcuts for grating, grinding, milling, steaming, and approximate times and approximate speed so that you can set your Thermomix. And it just takes a little bit of the guesswork out, especially if you're new to Thermomix. Once you've been, Mary and I have both been using Thermomix for 10 years, so we're pretty on par with what we need to do. But when you're first starting, it takes a little bit of while to get your head around. Now for cheese, about 5 seconds will be fine. And I'm just going to turn it up to speed 7. And that'll be plenty for chopping up cheese, perfect for our making our scrolls. So there's so many benefits for making your own grated cheese. It's quick. You don't need to have any of the caking agents or the the bits that make everything not stick together. And it's actually cheaper. And cheese, sometimes I said supermarkets have been a bit low on cheese. But if you just make your own, you can do a whole block of Parmesan in one go and you get it really beautifully fine. The softer cheeses, you're not going to get as fine, but it's still such a great idea. And because I was sort of making scrolls, a bit of mozzarella in there won't go astray. Now, I'm not going to clean my bowl here. I'm just going to move on and make the pizza dough because it's not going to worry me that I've got a little amount of cheese in there. It'll just end up in the dough, which could be a really good benefit in itself. So I'm just going back to my menu screen and I'm going to my week because I've actually added my pizza dough into my planner. So it's going to come up ready to go for me today, pizza dough. So I'm just going to click Start Cooking and just follow the prompts. I've got a few things ready. It says to use lukewarm water. It just helps the yeast activate that little bit faster. It's telling me to grease a bowl. I'll do that in a minute. And we're just going to weigh our water in. Just make sure your scales tear back to 0 and then just pour your water in. It's one of the favourite features. I actually just like to add a little bit over the water requirement. It's just what I seem to do, about 10, 15 grams over. I just think it's a little bit better. I don't add sugar or malt to my bread, but then obviously you do need your yeast. So I'll just grab a teaspoon and we're just going to add in 2 teaspoons of yeast. Now this is just Lowen yeast. Buy this one from the supermarket. It's nothing fancy. You'll find it in the same aisle as the flour. I might talk to you a little bit about the flour in just a minute. Insert the measuring cup and I'm just going to mix this up. Speed 2 for 20 seconds. Is just going to combine that. And then I'm going to add my flour in the mix. Now I use a specific bread flour for today. So if you're at the supermarket looking for flour, make sure you find specific bread flour. So if you want to buy just 1 kilo, the Lighthouse brand. If you want to buy 5 kilos, look down the lower shelves at the supermarket and Lauki, there's a Wallaby bread flour, which is quite good. And if you are in Ballarat, I go to the Wendouree wholesalers and I buy a massive bag of flour. It's like 10 or 12 kilos. It sounds absurd, but I make bread for my family of 5 all the time. So I find it's really economical and that's what I use. But I'm really happy to answer any of those questions if you need more help with that. All right, so we've just mixed that up And we're going to add our baker's flour. Now, if you wanted to, you could double this recipe. The Thermomix is strong enough to allow you to do double quantity, but I'm only just going to do one today. So I tend to just scrape it straight out of my container. It saves a few measuring cups and things like that. Be careful I don't go too far over. I've been known to go over. Right, we've added that. Now, a little bit of olive oil. Olive oil helps with the elasticity in your dough. And look, you can use as much as you like. I just pour a bit in. I don't tend to worry too much about exactly how much I've done. And a teaspoon of salt. Now, salt is important in making bread, so do add some. I'm just going to make sure there's no one else in the waiting room. Just give me 1 second. No, we're all good. Okay. Pop our lid on. And I'm just going to hit the dial. So it's programmed now for 2 minutes. Now, kneading your dough in your Thermomix for 2 minutes is equivalent to about 8 minutes of hand kneading. So this is a really great saver, and especially if anyone in your family struggle doing things with your hands, like you just wouldn't do it. But when you can do it in your Thermomix, it's just done so quickly. And then we are going to move on to actually putting everything together, because I actually have it all ready to go so that I can show you. Just going to move my chopping board out of the way. And what I'm going to do, just to allow this lot of dough to rest, I'm just going to grab a thermo server. It's great for proving bread dough. And the other option is to use a bread mat, which I'm also going to show you in just a moment. So by popping your bread in here, you can pre-warm it first with some warm water, but I've just popped a little bit of olive oil in just to so it doesn't stick too much. We're nearly done. And then I've got another lot of dough here in my thermomat, so I'll show you that in a minute, and I'll roll it out and we'll put it together in the scrolls. There's a few different ideas you can do with scrolls. You can even do filled little buns as well, which are a really nice surprise. So when you break into them, they've got a filling in them. We're nearly done with this. Sometimes that's the worst bit about when we're doing these Zooms, is waiting for the next step to finish. It's a great opportunity in your kitchen. I can see Mary's busy doing bits and pieces there, but it's great you can be cleaning up and stacking the dishwasher or whatever you need to do while your Thermomix is doing its work for you. Righto, just a few more seconds and then we'll get these going. All right, so just before we were chatting, it's coming into tomato season, and for making pizzas, things like that, if you can get a batch of tomatoes from your greengrocer, you can make some amazing tomato passata, chutney, relishes, ketchup, like tomato sauce. My family love homemade tomato sauce, and I recently had some people over for a barbecue, and I just put my sauce out, and a few people commented how amazing it was, and I didn't think it was anything fancy, but it was just a tomato ketchup recipe off cookie dough. So when you get your bread out, it will pretty much come all out of the bowl, and I will just pop the pre-clean function on, but I'm just going to leave that dough aside. It will take 45 minutes or so to rise, so we're not going to use that bread that I've just made. But about an hour ago, I did make another batch of bread so that we would be ready to go, so that I could get this going. So you can see that that bread's pretty soft and fluffy there. It's grown. So it's really handy to have one of these thermomats. Like, I use this all the time. It's great for rolling pastry, great for rolling pizzas. It comes as a host reward for having a cooking demonstration, and they're also in the mix shop. So they're really great to get on board if you want to have pizzas, bread, or any of those items in your home. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of flour, and if you haven't got a thermomat, when you see one, they've actually got measurements on them, which are so handy. And I find that when you want to make scrolls, you want it about 30 by 40 centimetres. I find that is a good amount. So I generally just grab your rolling pin. Now, my scrolls are never perfect, so it's not going to be a perfect rectangle. Don't get me wrong, I try my best, but it's just not going to be. It's not my skill, is to have precision in rolling bread dough. But if you can get 30 by 40, that gives you, we'll probably make about 8 scrolls with this amount. So you can always either think about doing 1.5 times the recipe or doubling the recipe if you need to cook for more people or you want to even freeze some. All right, so that's pretty good. I haven't quite got it square down here. I don't know what I've done, but anyway, it's a little bit thicker up this end. So I'll just try and roll it a little bit. Now, if you've got any questions, please just type them in the chat bar or just come off microphone and ask us, because we're really happy to try and answer any questions that you might have. That's why we're here. Righto. So you could do any number of toppings on here. So I've actually just grabbed a little bit of leftover tomato passata here that I had in the fridge that needed using up. Now, it's not a lot, but it'll be enough for this. And I'd like to tend to use the back of a spoon. Just spread that out. So it's not a super big amount, but it's enough for scrolls, I find. I tend to leave a little bit of gap from the edges, just when you want to roll it up on the end furthest away from you. I will roll my bread away from me. So I always like to leave about 1 inch that doesn't have tomato passata there. Now I'm going to keep this really simple tonight, and it's just going to be olives, tomato and cheese. You could cut the olives up a bit smaller if you wanted to. I've just got pitted Kalamata olives from the deli at the IGA, I think I got them from. My kids love olives, but you could do cheese and bacon, you could do pesto, cheese and Vegemite is another great option. There's so many different great options you can do here. So I'm just going to grab the cheese and sprinkle that over. All right, that's pretty good. And then I'm going to use the help of the Thermomix to roll this up now. I like to save a bit of cheese to put on top at the end. I think it makes all the difference when we go to bake them. All right, just going to change that so you can see. There we go, that's a little bit better. Righto. So I've got my dough rolled out, roughly 30 by 40. I've sprinkled some toppings on. And now I'm just going to use the Thermomix to roll it up in a big log. And you want to try and keep it a little bit tight if you can. But, you know, I like food to taste good. It doesn't always have to be the prettiest. Okay. All right. So I've got quite a long log now. Now, there's a couple of options that you can do. Never use a knife on your Thermomix. You will kick yourself because it'll cut straight through the silicone. So we can't do that. So if you want to cut it, you need to grab a board and you need to lift your log onto the board and cut it. So what you can do is use a serrated knife and then you can cut it this way. And look, that does give quite a good result. The other option, which I was going to show you, we'll see how it works, and I've seen people do it, is actually to use dental floss. I know that sounds crazy, but you can actually get a really good result just by putting the dental floss around the roll and actually just pinching it through. And then you get a really nice cut. So depending on what you're feeling, you could use that. So I'm going to grab one of my rose gold trays. I'm just going to start popping my scrolls just on their side. So I've probably made them about 3 centimetres. And I'm quite happy with the serrated knife. So I'm just going to go with that option. If they get a bit squashed, it doesn't tend to worry me. And then I like to space them out a little bit so that they've got room to rise, because they will, being bread, rise up a bit. And because I would like to show you the finished result tonight, I'm actually going to throw them straight into a cold oven in a moment. And by putting them in a cold oven, we'll just allow them to prove a little bit as the oven warms up. In an ideal world, I would wait another half an hour to 45 minutes before baking them, just to let them rise up and puff up a bit more. Well, I think I've made way more than 8 today. I must have made it I don't know what I've done, but I've made more. I think they're just going to be a little bit smaller tonight, but that's okay. All good. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I've made nearly 12. There we go. 12, 13. So then I tend to like to grab my cheese. I'll move this so you can see it properly. Right. So we're going to pop this here. I'll just grab my cheese and sprinkle some on the top. Kind of just put it on the top of them because it just oozes in and it will be really good. Any leftover cheese, just pop it in a Snaplock bag and pop it in the freezer. And then you've got already cheese ready to go next time you want to make pizzas or something like this. My daughter is always making pizzas and she will be coming to do a cameo shortly because the next recipe that I'm going to make with you tonight is actually hers. Right, so that's all done. I'm going to just pop that in the oven now. And it'll take about 35 minutes. So with any luck, they'll be finished right before the class ends and I'll show you what the finished result is. You'll be able to see they will expand quite a bit in the oven, but yeah, I'm going to pop them in a cold oven. Let's see what the says use is required, but I might pop them in at about 190, like to put them a little bit hotter so that they crisp up a bit and we'll see how we go. So I might send back to you. Will that be all right, Mary?
No worries.
Okay, let me just change the pin. And I will hand.
Hi again, everyone. Now, I've still got 1 minute and 16 seconds left for my timer here, but I've used the exact same skill, whatever time, and behind me in my older Thermomix, I'm actually doing the same thing, but I'm steaming rice as well as pork. So while this is finishing cooking, I'll just show you. So I marinated some pork in a bit of soy sauce and garlic and a little bit of brown sugar to give it a bit of sweetness. And of course, I can't find my tongs when I'm looking for them. Sorry, they're hot. I just thought I'd bring it out just to show you. So I've got 2 bits of pork that I've just done in here. So 20 minutes, Varoma, speed 3 for this. And I am going to put them in my thermoserver along with the brown rice. So this is the older model that doesn't have the lid. So that's cooked. I've got my pork that's cooked. But what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to sear the pork just in a hot pan. It was my husband used to say steamed meat. I'm not too sure about this. While it's beautiful, it makes it really succulent, but that little bit of caramelization was what sold him. So out of this, I've got 200 grams of brown rice. I'm not really sure how much pork, but, you know, a little bit. Probably more 200 grams, 250. And while that's been doing, I've just been cutting up, you know, some salad to go with that. So that's going to be our meal tonight. What I've done here with the steamed chicken, I'm actually going to do for sandwiches tomorrow. So when you take off your steamer, it's really important that you take it so that the lid is away from you because it is steaming, it is boiling water. So then you can just take that off and lift it and sit it on top of the lid. So you probably can't see it unless I bring it out. I don't know if I can show you without burning myself here.
Yeah, that's okay, Mary. You can see
Can
that.
you see that? Yep.
Yeah.
Oops. And here, really important you use your spatula. So with your basket, I don't know if you know, with your spatula, there's this little hook here. So that's designed to hook into that little bit of the basket there, hook in, and you can drain it, if you like, and then bring it out here. So I'm just going to have a look with my little skewer and make sure that they look like they're fine. Yep, they're nice and soft. So what I could do is put those into a salad, or what I have is a big thing in our house. If these are steamed, you've always got a really quick meal if you want to flash fry them in the pan or put them in the oven. whatever you like. But I'll have hard-boiled eggs. I've still got a fair bit of water left in there. I'm going to just put that in the sink. And I have to have a bit of a giggle. My husband doesn't do much cooking. He is a very good cook when he does, but he doesn't use the Thermomix heaps because he doesn't cook heaps. However, even he knows if he wants to shred chicken, pop it in, and it's 4 seconds on speed 4, or depending on if you want a more chunkier shredded chicken. So I'll do it for 3 seconds on speed 4 on reverse. Underline that reverse. You're not chopping it, you're shredding it. So I'm just putting these little bits of chicken in. They're definitely cooked. This out of the road. A lid on. And we're going to do 3 seconds, I said, didn't I? Reverse on speed 4. And remember that this chicken's hot, so it'll be a lot easier to chop it because it's soft. 3 seconds, reverse, speed 4. There is my husband's shredded chicken for his sandwiches tomorrow. So if you wanted to set, like for your children's lunch, I've actually also got some cold in the fridge. You can do the same thing. I just think I wouldn't even bother getting 2 forks out to do that. It was a bit of a revelation for us when we discovered how easy that is to do. So I'll just put that into a container. It's all ready to go tomorrow morning. I've got my homemade mayonnaise. I'll probably pop a little bit of that and salt and pepper on and a bit of an avocado, and he's got a really healthy lunch, and so have I. I don't know, is there anything else I can tell anyone about steaming, Belinda?
No, I think that's quite good because it's really handy. Just see, I just find even when my kids, I love hard-boiled eggs in the fridge. And even for myself today, we're going to do some salad talk a little bit more, chopped salads in a minute. But if you've got some boiled eggs in the fridge and an avocado or some potato, you've got a really quick lunch. And it just means you get more fresh food in. So I think that's really good.
I think when we're all tired, which, you know, we all are at certain times, your default is you go to what you know or what you can grab quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the sort of thing you can prep as you're doing the dishes, you know, and then and I saw you did a really good post, Belinda, on how to put your bowl in the dishwasher. Yes. So we'll talk about that later, but, you know, we may as well talk about it now. The silver bit in the bottom, all the other bits in the top. It's that easy.
Yeah, I'm glad I remembered to take the picture of the dishwasher when it was clean rather than when I put it in.
We probably can go back to you now because you're going to do
I'm ready for the strawberry roll-ups. Yeah, I don't know if my daughter's going to appear. She was around. Righto, let me just see. One moment. Oh, I can hear her coming. So this is, did you want an earbud? Yep. So pop that in your left ear. This is my daughter, Chloe. Chloe is 11 and she's been asking me for ages, can we make roll-ups, leathers, things like that? And so here we go. We're going to show them that in a minute. We're going to put it on. We're going to put the mix on first, and then we're going to show them that mix. So now I know. Anyway, we've actually made a batch this morning, and we've got them ready to show you what the finished result's going to be like, because this is something that does take a little bit of time, but it's actually not hard. So I'd really love for you to have a go. I'm just going to move this window off my screen so I can see a bit better. Righto, so I've just got here strawberries. Now, if other people do not know about this, Yendon tomato and strawberries, they're at the Ballarat markets on Saturdays, and you can go out and visit them at their farm gate. It is strawberry season for them. They normally have pick your own, but they're not doing pick your own at the moment because of all the COVID, rules and regulations. But I went out there yesterday, and John had recommended me to somebody else, and he'd kind of seen a social media post I did, which was about the strawberry roll-ups. And I said, thank you so much. And anyway, I said what I was doing today, he said, here you go, Belinda, here's a tray of second strawberries. He actually gave me 2. I'm just like, oh my goodness, that was very kind. He goes, no, I was going to throw them out. So These are second strawberries. They're not perfect, but they're great to use in a recipe like this, or great to use in strawberry jam, strawberry coulis. There's so many great strawberry recipes you can do with your Thermomix. Just type strawberries into Cookie Do. Chloe and I did that today, and we've already saved a strawberry bavois recipe that we thought we'd make on the weekend, which is a moussey cake thing. Anyway, we're going to give it a go. So Chloe, you get started. So we're just going to literally follow the guided cooking recipe. It's strawberries and a bit of sugar that we're going to cook up. You just tip them all in. I've weighed them all out, darling, so they're good to go. So I've just made sure I wash them. I always make sure I wash the strawberries. You don't want any bugs. Oh, it's 9 grams. We're not going to worry. It does. We need the lid. Do we need the lid yet, or sugar now? Yep. Just going to chop them up a bit, I think. 5 seconds on speed 4 just to chop up those strawberries. Have a clean spatula. It's always handy to have a clean spatula. Righto. Okay, next clue. So I'll just show you, those strawberries aren't like really small, but they're just chopped up into small pieces, which is great. Now, just before we do that, we might just want to tear the scales. They've gone into negative, and that happens when you take your lid off. So it does have a little bit of sugar in it. If you want to just reduce the amount of sugar, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's fine. We're just putting, it says 70 grams. We're only using just under 60. And literally what we're going to do, it says the basket, but I want to do something different today because
It overflows.
Yeah.
If you use a basket.
So if you put the basket, and we nearly did get overflowing, or we did a little bit. But if you use your Verona, the Verona sits a little bit more snugly inside the rim, and it allows all the steam. So turn it on, Chloe, get it going. So what that does is just allow the steam to escape. And if you do get any bubbling up, it comes up into the Verona. So this is going to take 8 minutes. So just I know there's a few newer people on here. I just wanted to point out a few things. At the top of your screen, you've got 3 little dots. You can click on those dots and you can check on your recipe detail to see what's coming up in the recipe, just simply by scrolling down. You can even touch the screen right at the step you're up to, or you can just touch at the top of the screen to go back to where you want to be. And there's a newer feature, which is just actually preview, which just tells you what your next step is going to be in the recipe, which is actually quite handy. So this is going to go for 7 minutes, but now we're going to come and show you. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we need to cook that. Once it's cooked, we're going to puree it, and then we're going to spread it out onto some trays. So earlier today we did that, and here we have a dehydrated strawberry roll-up, which is quite big. So what do you think we do, Chloe?
We'll take them off. I'll cut them in.
So it's like this beautiful little veil of strawberry. Just pop it. Do you want to pop it on there, or you just want to grab the scissors and cut them up?
I'll cut them up.
So we'll just, I don't know where my, I guess you've got scissors. I think you can just cut them, and I'll grab a container. So Chloe, just grab some scissors. So yeah, it's just easy, quite easy to cut them with scissors into a little strip and roll them up. And we always try and cut on the short edge. And now just remember, you've got all the fibre and the sugar from the fruit, the natural fructose in there. So they are something you should only have a small portion of, because I have used like this, it's about 350 grams of strawberries per tray. So it is quite a lot of strawberries, and we've taken all that liquid out. And so now we've got this beautiful little strip that we just roll up. But it's a really great thing to do when you've got a lot of fruit in season. And it's a little bit fun for the kids as well. I reckon you could actually make some really cool little shapes out of them. If you had some sharp cookie cutters, that would actually work really well.
They would need to be very sharp.
So when we've pureed this recipe, which I'll have to show you shortly, what we need to do is pop them in the oven. Now, the recipe says 7 hours, but we found today in our oven at 60 degrees, it only took 5 hours. So I do recommend that you just, if you're going to do it for the first time, do it during the day. Don't try and just set them overnight while you're sleeping, because otherwise you'll end up with strawberry chips, which is probably not such a bad idea.
The
but
first time I tried to make them in the dehydrator.
Yeah, so we also have a dehydrator, but we wanted to try just to do it in the oven, and just to show you don't need anything particularly fancy other than your oven. I'd say if you have a gas oven, it's going to be difficult to maintain that low temperature. So you do need to sometimes have a I'm just going to put Mary back on mute for a minute, Mary. You just do need to have a controlled temperature. So the electric oven is going to be best for this experience, making strawberry roll-ups. They do look pretty cool when you put them in a container. The only problem is that everyone loves them so much and they get eaten so quickly, and it just seems, and I guess it is a little bit of effort for something, but they're kind of nice. They'd be great for a party, actually. Great for a little great for party bags. You could tie a little bit of little tie around them. So what I'm going to do tonight is, because it is late, well, I'm not going to be up for another 5 or 6 hours, I can tell you. I'm actually just going to set the oven for 4 hours, put my oven on timer, and then I'm just going to get it to turn off. And I just know with that residual heat for the next hour, they will dehydrate a bit more. And if for any reason they're not quite done in the morning, I'll just turn them back on again for another sort of another hour or 30 minutes or an hour. Because they are quite sweet with the natural sugars in them, they will be just fine to leave in the oven like that. I wouldn't worry about leaving them in the oven for a period of time like that. Now we're going there, Chloe. You've got the strips.
And then there's the ends.
Yeah, I think you're going to have the ends, are you?
Yeah.
You're going to take them? No, not right now, darling. I think this one's almost won't fit in the container. I'm going to cut it in half. They're pretty cool. I don't know. So what do you think? Do you think any of you would ever try one of these? Little strawberry roll-ups? Pretty fun. Now, I just want to point out a couple of things. If you're looking on Cookie Doo trying to find this recipe, this is actually a UK recipe. So on Cookie Doo, there's a little button called filters, and I want you to click on filters and add in all the recipes from the UK, because the recipes from the UK are great. And they have their own recipe development kitchen. So they've come up with this recipe and posted it. And it's a great one. Can you let the dog out? Can you let her out? Sorry, our dog's just standing at the door going, can someone please let me outside? Yeah, so just have a look at the filters. You don't always have to have those UK recipes on your filters. You can take it off. But I find that by getting the UK recipes, there's so many other great ones there that I use quite a lot. And when we get back to the salads, there's another recipe on there that I was telling Mary about. She goes, I can't find it. And then it was a UK recipe. So yeah, there's just so many more things you can get access to, which is great. And the recipes are always there. They don't disappear. Sometimes you'll see a double up because they exist both in the Australian and the UK platform. But yeah, there's heaps, thousands of recipes. So that's probably my strawberry roll-ups, Mary. I don't know if you're almost ready to come back to the salads. Mary, you're just on mute, so I just need you to come off mute.
There you go.
All good? Are you right to come back to salads?
I am. I just want to say, Chloe, great job. You can come around and do them with me tomorrow.
She is definitely my little helper. Oh, they're not
amazing
hard.
in the kitchen. Amazing.
Yeah. She does lots for me. And that's the one thing I love about the Thermomix is it's so good for kids. The guided cooking, it really just steps you through and it gives people the confidence to cook. So if you know people that haven't ever had someone teach them how to cook, and I just think this is such a fabulous tool, and you're obviously tuning in because you want to see about the Thermomix. That's great. So yeah, I just think it's so good for that reason. All right, over to you, Mary.
I have 2 children, both of now that have, well, one officially left home, and that was the present that I gave them, so that I know that they're eating healthy food simply and easily. So this is I nearly feel embarrassed that we're going to do this, and I will do the guided cooking, even though it's really hardly even needing to be done because it's like one pot cooking. But there's 2 ways, because I had a little look at the recipe earlier today. On the left-hand side, there's 3 lines. If you hit that and you hit recently cooked, it should come up, and it's the because I was looking at the, sorry, do you want to resume recipe? I'll restart it. So basically, I just went into those 3 lines, recently cooked, and here is our coleslaw. So start cooking. So 100 of carrots. So look, these are only a guide. I'm not going to leave a tiny bit of carrot aside. just because it says that. So it says cut it in chunks, which I've done. Next, 1 green apple. And look, I've done this where I haven't peeled it. I haven't even cored it because a few little apple pips aren't going to hurt you. So I'm just going to literally put it in like that. I don't, it'll be my husband eating this, not the children, so it'll be fine. 50 grams of red onion. Now, I don't know about you, I do use a lot of onions, but one of the things that I found, a few recipes actually ask for small quantities of onions. These little shallots are a great thing to buy so that you're not having half bits of onion left in the fridge. So I've just got one of those little ones and I know it'll be pretty darn close. It says to taste 42, fine. And then 200 of cabbage. So I really am, my big New Year's resolution, I say it every year, but I'm getting better every year, little bit by little bit, is to use what I've got. So when you're using your cookie dough, you can actually put in ingredients and find recipes that will, a little bit like taste.com. So I've got a little bit of red cabbage, I've got a little bit of green cabbage, whatever's in the fridge. It's 253, but it's going to be fine. A pinch of salt, always salt's a bit like butter, always makes things better. Pinch of salt, and then a bit of pepper. Now, I'm pretty sure the next step's going to ask me for mayonnaise, and I always make my mayonnaise every couple of weeks. It's just so easy. But it says 2 tablespoons. Rather than that, what I'm going to do is, because I want to use this tomorrow, because I've decided Friday nights, I'm not going to cook too much. So we're going to have baked potatoes with coleslaw, sour cream, and some chopped cheese like Belinda showed you before. And we've got a really simple but really yummy meal. And if I don't want to put the oven on, I can just prick it and put it in the microwave, or better still, have some steamed potatoes in a basket. So I'm going to use some olive oil. It was here a minute ago. Right there. Round, yeah, bit of this. And I happen to have, because I've got some onion marination, excuse me. It's not COVID, I hope. It's no nuts I was eating. I've got half a lime, so I'm just going to put some lime juice in. You can use lemon. You can use mayonnaise if you want to. And if you do make mayonnaise and you're going to make coleslaw after it, don't clean the bowl. Then it's already in, all ready to go. So
I was just going to say, Mary, one thing I find just with onion, if people don't like it, if you soak your onion in your lime juice for like you're doing, it makes it a little bit less bitey and it's actually a lot more palatable for some people.
It is. It's softer. It takes out that stringent taste that some people don't like. And I do that all the time. And then you've got your salad dressing half made, really. Add a bit of olive oil, salt and pepper. Next, I've got wet hands. I love this. Insert your spatula through the hot. What on earth have I done here? Oh, I'm looking at something and I'm going, what's that? And this shows you how much. Let's have a look. Oh, I know what it's saying. See, when you've had a Thermomix for ages, you know what to do. But if you see here, they've got little videos. I'm actually really glad I did this because your spatula, which I've got here, is designed. It's designed to go through here and not touch the blades. So that little video for you newbies is actually there to show you that you can do that. There you go. Obviously, I just do this off the top of my head. Next, so I'm just going to turn this to speed 4 and with the aid of my spatula, move it around. Next, and it says scrape down the sides. It's not that chopped yet. But in 2 seconds, we've got a little bit of done. Next, insert your measuring cup. I'm not going to do that. And then again. Now, I've looked at that and I actually think it needs a little bit more. So this is a great way. It's actually good learning on this one. I tend to cook with my ears. I actually just whiz it up without using a recipe and go, yep, have a look. That's how I like it. You've got 2 ways. You can do that or make it a little bit more, or you go back and just do it again. still, to me, this is, I've obviously got a really hard carrot in here. Nearly there. Oh, you know what happened? Now, here's a good tip. This is really good, actually. See, it's not a perfect world. One of those carrots is caught on the end of my blade, so it's not chopping it as well as it should. So that's why that's not chopping.
Sometimes I find, Mary, that's happened to me a few times too, and I just need, I think we just need to make them that tiny bit smaller. Sometimes, you know, when you first get a Thermomix, you chop everything up first, and then you get, like us, we barely chop, and they'll go, oh, actually, I probably should have chopped it up a tiny bit more before I put it in the bowl.
Yeah. Rule of thumb, usually, if it goes through the hole in your bowl, it's small enough. But look, I'm actually glad that happened, because people go, why is it not doing? This thing's meant to chop in seconds. It does, but we're just going to go repeat if necessary until desired consistency is achieved. Well, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go to home, and I'm just going to do it by look and touch. Seems a long second, doesn't it? So I've done that. I've obviously got a very, very hard carrot in there. I would do that a little bit more. That's been about 7 seconds now, which is quite unusual actually. But then again, you just have to do, food is organic. Oh, that carrot's just stuck under that blade. Another little bit more.
You don't need any more today. You've already eaten some.
And that's how I like it. I don't like it too fine. Obviously, the carrot, again, everything's a little bit different depending on how hard or how fresh or whatever it is.
Good.
So that's probably how I would have it. But you can go more if your family prefers a finer chopped salad. There's quite a few chopped salads. What were we talking about? The traffic light salad?
Yeah, there's 5-second traffic light salad, which is also a UK recipe. Beetroot salad, which is something that we often demonstrate at cooking experiences. It's a really delicious salad with beetroot, carrot and apple, sort of a similar type coleslaw salad, but it also has coriander and lemon juice in it. If you don't like coriander, I think parsley is a really nice option, or you can even use mint, which would be really good. You can kind of just pick the herb that you like to go in them. But yeah, like Mary, I've been trying to make sure I get lots of fresh veggies in, and just find that if I have things made in the fridge, then I actually have a better lunch rather than getting to 3 o'clock. I've lost my sound. Is that all good? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so just making sure that, yeah, I have good options. So the chopped salads are really good. So add some of those to your repertoire of recipes to try. I think you need to leave it in your ears, Chloe, otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah, you've got to try the recipes out and give them a go. And then if you really like them, save them, and you don't do them on a regular basis because they work out really well. So we are ready, Mary. Do you want to talk about that pork that you're just doing?
Yeah, I just thought while you were doing that, I just gave it about a minute on each side. So it's totally cooked, but it's got that nice char bit. So all I'm doing is I'm just slicing it up, and I'm going to add it with this. So that was 200 grams of brown rice. Again, 20 minutes Varoma speed 3. And I did the marinated pork and the brown rice. So I'm going to put it in with the salad with a little bit of olive oil and the onion that I've had marinated in lime juice. And that's our dinner tonight. And there will be so much there that I'll probably only add half the brown rice. And again, if you've got a bit of brown rice in the fridge, all you need is a few herbs and a tin of tuna, and you've got a really, a really healthy snack or lunch, because, you can't always go out as much as I'd love to. But that's going to make quite a hearty meal for us. And, yeah, dinner's done. Oh, they look beautiful. Can you say
yeah. Yeah.
Uber ground?
they're just out of the oven, and as you can see, they've all joined together. They have grown, and if I had left them to prove a little bit more, they probably would have been a little bit bigger, but they're done. So they're a great thing that you can easily pop in a lunchbox for big or little people. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, before I baked them, at that stage where I put them on the tray, you could cover them in cling film and pop them in the fridge and let them slow prove overnight and bake them the next morning if you wanted to do so. So the other option is you could even freeze them as a raw dough rolled up, and then you could take them out of the freezer and bake them. So you could have a day where you did a bit of batch cooking if you needed to save time and get quite a lot done. Have some made, have some in the freezer to save you a bit of time later on. So now that I've shown you those, I want to come back to the strawberry leathers, because this has finished while Mary's been doing her thing. You'll notice that the red lights are on so that my bowl is still hot. And I'm just going to take the aroma off, and you can see that there is a little bit of the strawberry on there, but it hasn't spilt over there, which is actually really handy. So what we need to do now, I've got some silicone trays and the oven. I will make sure we're actually just going to blend this up though. So we're just going to blend it up. It does go for 30 seconds on speed 9 so that it's nice and smooth. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to pop the mix onto one of these silicone trays. I'll have 2 trays worth. And something that I'm going to use is one of these. This is one of the bowl scrapers that you can get from the mix shop. So it's going to be really helpful to get our strawberry mix on our tray really smoothly. So I'll show you how we do that in just a minute. I've only got a few seconds to go here. We're going to be done before 8, Mary, which is great because I always like to keep it under an hour. Okay, so
short, sharp, and hopefully informative.
I hope so. All right, so you can see there that that mix is beautiful and smooth, and obviously we've still got the seeds from the strawberry in it, which actually give a really nice detail to the finished product. And I know, Serena, you're on tonight. I might bring you some tomorrow so you can taste them because I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow. Always good. The only bad thing about doing Zoom classes is you don't get to try the food. It's much better to do classes in person and have Mary or I come, because then you get to eat the food, and that's the best part. My kids, however, aren't complaining because they get the food. Righto, let's just show you how this works. So I'm just going to carefully pour. And just remember, this is actually quite hot. Still at 85 degrees, okay? Or if my little helper's going to reappear in a minute, or whether she's disappeared. I told her she shouldn't eat too many more roll-ups. Okay, so with your spatula, it is a little bit fiddly, but you just want to push it out on the tray. And the silicone mats, I've tried to do these with baking paper, but I think the silicone mats are really important for this, because I think the paper just gets too wet and then it's too hard to peel off. And obviously the dehydration of these is going to depend on how thick you have them. So let's see what it says. Approximately 25 by 35. Spread it with a spatula, and then we need to pop it in the oven. So I don't think it's going to take 7 hours. I think it's going to take my oven about 5, but I'm going to set it for 4 because it will be finished while I'm asleep, and I'll check it again in the morning. And you actually want it to cool before you pull it off the trays. And just checking if they're ready. If they still feel really tacky with your finger to touch, they might need a bit more. But that's pretty much done now. So the other thing I found quite handy is if you just, I've got pretty flat trays, you kind of give it a bit of a shake. It just sort of levels out quite a bit like that. And I will do the other tray in a minute rather than bore you with me scraping another tray, but that's about it. So I hope that's been helpful. Has anybody got any questions before we finish off? Mary's got her beautiful steamed goodies there in a salad all done. It's amazing how you can, in such a short time, you can have such a variety of food on the plate. Isn't that great?
You know what I'd like to say too, though? One of the things about steaming protein is pork, like chicken breast, is a very, very low fat and sometimes can be tough. I just think that steaming them just gives them such a beautiful, succulent flavour, which for some people, well, I know my children used to get put off by pork if it was really tough, whereas this is, I've been sitting here eating it. But that will be, because it's rice and I've used vegetables that will be not go mushy, that will be fine to take as leftovers for lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, which is a great idea, to have leftovers for lunch all set to go. Perfect. Well, I think we are done. I think we've covered all the different salads and everything. If you've got any questions, please just get in touch with us. We're very happy to answer your questions. That's what we're here for. We want you to have as much help as you need with your Thermomix. So just get in touch if you need any assistance, and thanks for coming.
Well done, Belinda.
Yeah,
Thanks.
all good. All right, well, I'll let everybody go. Enjoy your dinner, Mary. Thank you for your assistance tonight, and I'll just